London, 22nd January 2026. The city awoke to a storm of royal turmoil as courtroom drama escalated into a spectacle that few could have imagined. Sensational accusations flew, emotionally charged testimonies stunned observers, and one of the most publicised legal battles in recent royal history reached a critical boiling point. Buckingham Palace, in response, released a rare and carefully calibrated statement, neither defensive nor angry, but a firm assertion of principle. The declaration was clear: the Crown does not engage in disputes arising from personal grievances. We acknowledge no involvement in the proceedings currently before the High Court, and we will not be drawn into commentary regarding internal family matters when they are weaponized in public forums, the statement read. Delivered late in the afternoon by the palace's chief press secretary and formally authorised by His Majesty King Charles II and Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, this statement represents the first official clarification of the royal family's position regarding Prince Harry's ongoing legal battle with associated newspapers. Unlike a simple press note, the statement drew a deliberate line in the sand, signalling that duty, dignity, and tradition take precedence over private disputes or personal vendettas. While the royal household has weathered scandals before, Harry's allegations, accusing Prince William of betrayal and Princess Catherine of actively obstructing his inheritance and reconciliation, made institutional clarity unavoidable. And it was Princess Anne who stepped forward with a measured, authoritative voice to define the boundaries. At a briefing held in St. James's Palace, Anne, known for her directness and strict adherence to protocol, delivered a sober but pointed message. The Crown serves the nation, not itself. We do not litigate our values, nor outsource our sense of responsibility to courtrooms or tabloids. Those who step away from that path do so by their own will, not by royal design. Her words carried unusual sharpness, implicitly rejecting any notion that the Princess of Wales, or any royal family member, interfered with Princess Diana's sealed will without evidence, discussion, or private consultation. It is not only false, it is disgraceful, Anne continued. Her statement carried the force of royal finality, leaving no room for rebuttal or debate. The monarchy cannot and will not be manipulated by emotional theatre, she implied. For generations, the British royal family has followed a deceptively simple media code: never complain, never explain. Not merely silence, but a doctrine of restraint. Leadership is shown through presence, not protest. Yet Harry's claims, asserting Catherine personally blocked him from his inheritance and accusing William of moral cowardice, have put that principle to the test. By framing the monarchy as complicit in emotional sabotage, Harry has challenged the very institution itself. The palace now rejects this characterization firmly. As the official statement reads, "We serve constitutional continuity, public trust, and institutional integrity. While personal pain must be acknowledged, it cannot be allowed to dictate the narrative of public service." Insiders report that issuing this statement was not a decision made lightly. Quiet debate had considered maintaining traditional silence, but it was Princess Anne who ultimately pushed the family to reaffirm its ethical stance. What makes this moment particularly notable is not that a royal aired grievances, but that those grievances are now before the High Court, intertwined with financial compensation claims, legacy disputes, and reputational battles. One constitutional advisor described it bluntly: "This is no longer a private family crisis. It is a public challenge to the Crown itself, disguised as a personal reckoning." Palace insiders report that Harry's actions have caused alarm behind closed doors. Senior courtiers describe them as reckless endangerment of institutional trust, particularly because Catherine, whose public approval ratings now surpass even those of Queen Elizabeth II at her Jubilee peak, has been implicated. Aides close to the Wales household remain publicly silent, adhering to professional discretion, though William is said to be deeply hurt by claims that he refused Harry legal assistance out of spite. Former palace legal advisors emphasised that this refusal was not personal, it was about respecting institutional boundaries. Meanwhile, the Princess of Wales has continued her public schedule with unwavering focus. From youth cancer centres to mental health summits and trauma recovery charities, Catherine's relentless presence signals strategic authority. A senior Kensington Palace aide commented, "You don't have to answer falsehoods to defeat them. You just keep showing up." Her silence, far from passivity, has been interpreted by royal watchers as one of the most effective rebuttals of all. As the trial of Windsor versus Associated Newspapers Limited entered its second full week, the High Court has become more than a courtroom. It has transformed into a stage for competing narratives. At its centre stands Prince Harry, attempting to transform a deeply personal story of hurt and betrayal into a case of national significance. Yet in repeated rebuttals, a fundamental truth is emerging: grievance is not proof, and emotion cannot outweigh evidence. A legal battle once framed as a privacy suit has evolved into a spectacle of unverified accusations, unstable timelines, and a persistent attempt to pull key royal family members into litigation they neither condone nor acknowledge. Despite the sound and fury of Harry's testimony, the palace has maintained a calm and strategic distance. Insiders describe his courtroom narrative as an improvised theatre of resentment, one that has weakened the credibility of his claims. Adding to the drama, Harry's legal team, once among the top in the country, collapsed just 2 weeks before trial, citing irreconcilable differences and deteriorating cooperation. Harry himself testified that he reached out to Prince William for assistance in finding new counsel, only to be denied. "I turned to my brother in good faith. I was met with silence," he said. Yet palace insiders maintain that this silence was neither betrayal nor neglect. It was a deliberate, measured choice to avoid any conflict of interest. Had the Prince of Wales intervened, even with a recommendation for a solicitor, it could have opened the door to accusations of royal interference, making any action a potential legal and public minefield. Former Privy Council advisers confirm William's refusal was institutional, not personal. The emotional interpretation of that refusal, however, is being used in the courtroom to suggest abandonment, despite clear guidelines. The courtroom has thus become a stage for both legal proceedings and personal catharsis, a combination that legal experts warn is undermining the credibility of the suit. During cross-examination, Anthony White KC, lead counsel for Associated Newspapers, challenged Harry to provide concrete proof of criminal misconduct. Where is the evidence? Which journalists? What methods? Who confirmed it? Harry's answers, increasingly vague under pressure, invoked a culture of intrusion, emotional erosion, and institutional silence, powerful rhetoric, but insufficient to meet legal thresholds for intentional harm or unlawful conduct. Evidence presented by the defence, including emails, PR coordination notes, and party invitations, demonstrated that many journalists accused of harassment had once been welcomed into Harry's inner circle. A phrase repeated across press benches struck a chord. "Harry, you invited me." Media access that was once convenient is now being reframed as predatory, yet Meghan Markle remains absent. Early communications show she was among the first to initiate data collection that formed the skeleton of the lawsuit, but she has declined to testify, issue a statement, or support Harry publicly. Her silence has amplified the tension of this public trial. At the core of the palace response is what insiders now call the firewall strategy. The monarchy does not litigate emotion. It does not rush to defend Catherine, nor does it confront allegations directly. Instead, it relies on Article 9 of the Royal Charter on Public Conduct, a rarely cited guideline that allows the family to formally declare non-association with private legal matters, regardless of bloodline. Last invoked during the Duke of York civil litigation in 2022, Article 9 allows for immediate severance of formal association between active working royals and any ongoing private legal action deemed to carry reputational risk. It grants the monarchy institutional immunity from subpoenas, interviews, or cross-examinations related to the case, establishing clear public positioning while safeguarding the Crown from being entangled in personal disputes. In an unprecedented move, Buckingham Palace has drawn a firm line. The Crown will not intervene, and Prince Harry is entirely on his own. The carefully measured statement, restrained in tone but loaded with meaning, signals one clear message. When private family history is weaponized into courtroom drama, the monarchy's dignity and distance must remain untouchable. This isn't just protocol, it's survival. The most pivotal moment reportedly took place behind closed doors at Clarence House, where Princess Anne confronted senior aides with an unshakable presence. Sources say she warned against being baited into emotional traps disguised as legal appeals, reminding everyone that empathy does not equal endorsement and that love never requires courtroom validation. We've done all we can, and more than most could ever imagine, to preserve dignity in the face of damage, she reportedly said with icy precision. Later, in a brief off-the-record exchange with select journalists, she added, "My mother taught us to serve, not to sue." Those words exploded across social media, becoming a rallying cry for royal supporters and a defining moment in shaping public perception of the ongoing family feud. New polling conducted by the Sovereign Index after Harry's explosive testimony shows the shift in public opinion. 71% of UK citizens believe the royal family should stay silent on Harry's lawsuit. 62% say his claims are emotionally charged but factually weak, and only 17% think Catherine owes the public a response. Notably, 58% say Meghan Markle's absence has eroded the moral consistency of their joint platform, underlining just how closely optics now matter in the court of public perception. While the legal system has yet to deliver a verdict, the public narrative is already being written. A striking contrast has quietly emerged from within Kensington Palace: calm, focus, and unwavering commitment to public service. As Harry's lawsuit dominates headlines with allegations, demands, and impassioned testimony, Prince William and Princess Catherine are delivering what many describe as a masterclass in dignified distance. Not a single word has been uttered by them about the trial, no public defense, no off-the-cuff remark, no leaks. And yet, their every public appearance seems to speak volumes, reinforcing a stark contrast between the weight of institutional duty and the spectacle of personal grievance. While Harry faced tense cross-examinations in the High Court, William and Catherine were in Arbor, visiting a paediatric neurology unit and unveiling a £4.3 million public health fund, where applause and gratitude filled the hallways instead of courtroom tension. Royal aides confirmed that the couple's schedule was intentionally left untouched, even as media pressure mounted to cancel or reschedule events, a move that would have signalled engagement with the narrative. "And that's not how this family governs itself," a senior courtier said. The next day, January 23rd, the couple presided over the Royal Foundation Early Years Summit, an initiative Catherine had meticulously built over 4 years, delivering a keynote on childhood development and emotional resilience, a pointedly relevant theme given the emotional unravelling on display in Harry's case. "Children don't learn by being told, they learn by what they see," she said, modelling everyday strength, steadiness, and empathy. Observers noted the layered meaning, but palace insiders insist the focus was purely mission-driven. Still, the message was unmistakable. This is leadership in action. Sources close to the Wales family describe the mood in Kensington Palace as resolute but sombre. William reportedly felt disappointment, but not surprise, at the courtroom allegations, particularly Harry's claim that Catherine blocked him from accessing his maternal legacy. Royal aides dismiss this as character assassination wrapped in grief, a narrative they will not dignify. One former press secretary emphasised that William and Catherine's silence is discipline, not avoidance, rooted in a clear understanding of the monarchy's role. It operates on example, not reaction. Catherine, deeply hurt by claims involving Princess Diana's will, has never publicly commented, and sources insist she will not now or ever. The strategy of active silence, perfected by Queen Elizabeth II, is being adapted to a modern media age where optics often carry more weight than rebuttals. Unlike Meghan's earlier high-profile interviews and Harry's courtroom dramatics, the Waleses have avoided reactive media, focusing solely on domestic charity work and sharing only service-related content via official platforms. The results speak for themselves. Public favourability has surged. Catherine reaches 78% approval, A record high, William 76%, while Harry drops to 28% and Meghan plunges to 19%. One royal historian noted, "It's not just what they say, it's what they don't say. Silence in the face of provocation is power." Multiple insiders confirm that, while no formal statement is planned from William or Catherine, all public actions have been vetted by the Sovereign's private counsel. As part of an institutional distancing protocol, the goals are clear: reinforce monarchy stability, avoid legal contamination, and let the courtroom speak for itself. In short, the Crown will not enter a quarrel, it did not start it, and it will not rescue someone who voluntarily left its protection. As one veteran royal correspondent summarised, Harry is trying to relitigate relationships, William is trying to build a nation's future. Yet one glaring absence dominates the narrative: Meghan Markle. Once a central architect of the couple's media and legal crusade, she has completely withdrawn. No statements, appearances, affidavits, or courtroom support. What began as tactical silence is now widely interpreted as a symbolic uncoupling from the story she helped craft, a calculated move to protect her personal brand. Court documents reveal that as early as mid-2021, Meghan spearheaded audits of press coverage, engaged US media law consultants, and urged Harry to compile reputational threat dossiers, the foundation of their legal strategy. Her name appears in over 113 internal emails, marking her as an active co-strategist, yet as the trial escalated, she vanished from the frame. Sources confirm that by October 2025, Meghan had opted out of official trial participation, citing long-term brand preservation, setting a firm emotional boundary. Royal commentators are split. Some see her silence as a smart legal buffer, letting Harry's narrative stand or fall independently. Others call it quiet betrayal, leaving him to bear the emotional and reputational weight alone. Media ethicist Dr. Leanne Moffat observes, "It's one thing to step back from the monarchy, it's another to step back from your own husband's courtroom fight, especially when you helped design it." Public perception mirrors this split. Once seen as a unified duo, Harry and Meghan are now increasingly viewed as fractured, with divergent strategies, risk tolerances, and public personas. January 24th polling shows 62% of Britons believe Meghan's absence signals a lack of confidence. 71% say her refusal to testify undermines joint credibility, and only 11% expect her to re-engage publicly before the trial concludes. Inside Courtroom 3, Harry's demeanour has grown brittle, his tone clipped, his pauses longer. Court sketch artists and journalists report he enters through side doors, avoiding press interaction, eyes darting under the pressure of cross-examination. During a short break on day 5, one reporter asked him directly, "Where's Meghan today?" Harry did not respond. Later, during questioning about potential financial losses, the defence referenced the couple's Netflix content strategy, prompting Harry to mutter under his breath, "It wasn't her story to finish," a seemingly minor remark that spread like wildfire online. Behind the gilded walls of Buckingham Palace, whispers of discord have now hardened into a quiet storm. Insiders speak of tension so tangible it could be cut with a knife. One anonymous source told The Guardian that Meghan handed him the sword but refused to hold the shield, capturing the sentiment of those close to the family. Confusion, hurt, and a sense that the partnership many believed unbreakable may be fracturing irreparably. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Montecito, Meghan Markle is preparing to relaunch her personal brand in a way that draws a clear line between herself and a royal life. Sources from her public relations and fashion consultancy teams describe the new initiative, set to debut in spring 2026, as Meghan 2, a fierce pivot toward wellness, empowerment, and creative ventures, deliberately stripping away royal references, titles, or commentary on British media. The planned portfolio is expansive: children's programming emphasizing emotional literacy, collaborations with major European fashion labels, apolitical and carefully curated, and a hybrid podcast memoir titled The Quiet Reset, designed to offer healing from narratives that were never truly hers. Publicists insist this is more than a rebranding. It is a calculated effort to control her story and maintain distance from controversies still consuming her former household. Significantly, Harry is absent from all promotional material. Whether intentional or not, Meghan's silence leaves him exposed, vulnerable to public judgment, cross-examination, and relentless media framing without the protective buffer of their once united front. As one veteran royal journalist remarked, "They used to be in this together. Now it looks like only one of them still is." The longer Meghan remains silent, the more her absence transforms from a legal strategy into a cultural symbol. The carefully constructed joint legacy built on confrontation and media influence is quietly unraveling, collapsing under the weight of selective participation. While Harry continues to dominate the headlines with courtroom theatrics, a very different kind of leadership has emerged quietly from within the monarchy, not from the throne, not from the heirs apparent, but from Princess Anne, ever resolute and unwavering in her devotion to duty. With characteristic bluntness and an unshakable commitment to protocol, the Princess Royal has emerged as the institutional voice of discipline and clarity amidst chaos. What began as whispers among palace aides has now solidified into what insiders describe as the Anne Doctrine, a set of internal principles reinforcing the monarchy's ethical spine, defining its non-negotiable boundaries, and drawing a moral line between personal grievance and public duty. On January 24th, during a private engagement with military families in Portsmouth, Anne was asked off-camera if the royal family would ever respond to Harry's allegations. Her reply, succinct but absolute, was, "We don't respond to fantasy." Though not a formal palace statement, the remark quickly circulated among journalists covering the Windsor trial and was featured on front pages by the evening. Palace insiders confirm that Anne's influence has become decisive. "She doesn't speak often," one longtime courtier said, "but when she does, it defines the tone of the institution." Unlike codified royal policy or constitutional law, the Anne Doctrine is practiced in behaviour. It revolves around 5 central pillars: service before sentiment, emotional impulses must never override public duty, silence in the face of provocation is strength, not weakness, legacy is earned through conduct, not demanded by birthright, and deception, manipulation, or victimhood narratives have no place in the House of Windsor. The code is rigid. You leave the family by choice. You stay by conduct. Departing from royal duties is never exile, but a return demands honour, humility, and accountability. During a recent Privy Council meeting, Princess Anne reportedly delivered a stark presentation on the dangers of allowing individual narratives to distort institutional clarity. "We are not a family soap opera," she said. "We are a constitutional pillar. If people forget that, they need to be reminded or removed." She personally reviewed all recent palace press briefings, ensuring their tone emphasised discipline over defence, insisting that the family refrain from directly countering Harry's claims and allowing the facts and his own words to reveal truth and delusion alike. King Charles remains silent, and Prince William continues his engagements, but Anne has become the de facto guardian of royal protocol, drawing the lines and defining consequences. Her stance toward Harry is not emotional, it is institutional. Multiple attempts at private dialogue in previous years were either rejected publicly or transformed into media spectacles, leaving Anne's recommendation to treat him as a private citizen pursuing grievances against a third party entirely appropriate within a legal and ethical framework. Public opinion aligns with her approach. Polling conducted by The Times and the Sovereign Index in the days following Harry's courtroom outbursts shows that 67% of Britons believe the monarchy should entirely distance itself from Harry and Meghan during legal proceedings, while 73% support Anne's position that royal roles must be tied to conduct, not genetics. Among those aged 35 and older, 82% say Princess Anne best embodies the monarchy's moral integrity, a rare achievement given her lower profile and her steadfast refusal to grant interviews while the Sussex legal drama dominates headlines and social media feeds. In the quiet corridors of Windsor, far from the glare of flashing cameras and media speculation, a decisive and unyielding form of leadership has quietly emerged. Princess Anne, often overlooked as the quiet workhorse of the royal family, has in recent months become the institution's steadying force, its silent general navigating turbulent waters with unparalleled discipline and focus. Her doctrine, whispered first behind palace doors and now widely recognized, serves a purpose larger than any personal feud. It is designed to protect the crown itself, to safeguard its legacy against distraction, dissent, and drama. As one palace historian recently remarked, the principle could not be clearer. You may leave the monarchy, you may criticize it, you may attempt to rewrite history or cast blame, but you do not get to shape it from the outside. This assertion, though deceptively simple, has rippled through every corner of the institution. It has informed every decision made during the high-profile Windsor versus Associated Newspapers Limited trial, where Prince Harry's defamation lawsuit has been scrutinised not only by the courts, but by the global public. And yet, despite the extensive coverage of his legal battle, one fact has emerged above all else: the monarchy has not fractured. In fact, it has clarified its core mission, demonstrating unity, stability, and a steadfast commitment to service. In a world where spectacle often drowns out substance, the House of Windsor has shown that silence, discipline, and strategic restraint can be far more powerful than any public defence. On January 26th, Harry's legal team filed a surprising amendment to their original claim, reducing the total damages sought from £31.6 million to £18.7 million and formally dropping the breach of confidence allegation. Analysts point to a grueling week of cross-examinations, during which defence barristers systematically dismantled the plaintiff's timelines and challenged the evidentiary basis of his claims. Witnesses demonstrated that what Harry portrayed as harassment was, in reality, routine social invitations, public relations communications, and willingly shared access. Many legal experts now suggest that large portions of the case may be dismissed before February, or, at best, that a symbolic ruling with minimal damages may be issued. The irony, according to royal commentators, is palpable. Harry remains the nominal plaintiff, yet the weight of his own contradictions has positioned him, in effect, as the defendant against the narrative he constructed. A former royal press officer reflected, "He came seeking justice, but what he brought instead was emotion without evidence. When pressed to prove the harm, all he could point to was resentment." Compounding his isolation is Meghan Markle's permanent absence from the trial. Though her name appears throughout court filings as an early co-strategist, she has fully disengaged, dedicating her time to a US-based brand relaunch set for spring 2026, focused on empowerment, children's education, wellness initiatives, and creative projects deliberately stripped of royal references. The optics of her withdrawal are stark. Public and media commentators alike have described it as a deliberate choice that leaves Harry exposed, vulnerable to cross-examination, media scrutiny, and public judgment, without the buffer of their previously united front. Ipsos Mori polling released on January 27th underscores this perception. 74% of respondents believe Meghan should have testified, while 68% see Harry as more isolated than ever. Only 12% feel the lawsuit has improved the couple's public image, and the narrative of unity that once defined their partnership has clearly fractured. Royal observers remark that while Meghan may have preserved her brand, she has left Harry carrying the emotional, legal, and reputational burden alone, a symbolic, if unintended, consequence of her strategic retreat. Meanwhile, the monarchy itself continues to demonstrate resilience and forward momentum. Prince William and Princess Catherine's public engagements since January 20th have been deliberate, consistent, and profoundly impactful. They have visited women's shelters in Newcastle, chaired trauma recovery roundtables in Croydon, attended Holocaust memorial services at Westminster Abbey, and launched Catherine's Shaping Us Early Childhood initiative in Yorkshire. At no point did they mention Harry, nor did they need to. Each action reaffirmed the values of the monarchy: service over spectacle, duty over drama, and continuity over chaos. Approval ratings reflect this strategic approach. Princess Catherine now enjoys 79% favourability, Prince William 77%, and King Charles III 58%, while Harry and Meghan lag at 26% and 18% respectively. When surveyed on who best represents the modern monarchy, respondents overwhelmingly selected Catherine, William, and Princess Anne, highlighting the resonance of disciplined, consistent leadership over reactive commentary or media-driven narratives. The principles guiding this period of institutional strain are rooted in what aides have termed Operation Quiet Tether, a long-term strategy to contain fallout while reinforcing duty and ethical consistency. It includes no official statements on Harry or Meghan, no press briefings, and no personal interventions, leaving the legal proceedings outside the monarchy's jurisdiction. Even King Charles, known in private for his emotional temperament, has acquiesced that reconciliation, if it occurs, must be voluntary, without leverage, and entirely removed from public spectacle. Princess Anne's influence during this period has been profound. Behind the scenes, she has reviewed all palace communications, advised the sovereign and heirs, and drawn clear ethical boundaries regarding engagement with the media and legal matters. Her insistence on restraint has ensured that public perception of the monarchy remains intact, emphasizing discipline, clarity, and service over emotional reaction. Her succinct, off-the-record comment, "We didn't fail him, we just stopped following him," has since been printed on front pages, shared millions of times, and widely cited as the closing argument of the monarchy itself, a statement of principle, unwavering and unassailable. Even as the courtroom approaches its final days, the implications extend beyond legal judgments. The trial has crystallized public understanding of what the monarchy represents. Not entitlement, not spectacle, not emotion, but duty, continuity, and moral authority. Harry may achieve partial victories in court, but the institution has already secured something far greater: the loyalty of its people, the credibility of its heirs, and a moral ground that cannot be challenged by lawsuits or media campaigns. As Windsor prepares for the final stages of the trial, the message from Clarence House is clear: legacy is not claimed through courtroom battles. It is demonstrated daily, quietly, and with unshakable presence. And as Princess Anne's doctrine proves, the crown remains stronger than any temporary controversy. For viewers and readers following this unfolding story, the lesson is unmistakable. Observe the actions, not just the words. Reflect on the weight of duty, the meaning of legacy, and the quiet power of steadfast service. If this story resonates, consider sharing your thoughts. Comment below, join the discussion, and subscribe for updates as the royal saga continues.